let's say you love the sunshine and the beach and you want to live in Florida, and your spouse loves Montana and skiing and the cold weather and the mountains. Could be a problem. Now, if you can work it out, it's not the reason to run to the divorce lawyer. If it prolongs for years and years and years and years, and the other person doesn't acknowledge or recognize that, then it could be a problem. The contemplating, thinking, researching, knowledge part is vital to your being able to make smart, wise decisions.
Women need to empower women, and our voice matters.
Bitch.
Welcome to the Mom Bitch Podcast. This episode of the Mom Bitch Podcast is brought to you by BTRNation.com. Oh, hey, busy mama. Do you need a snack that is not just healthy, but also delicious? Check out BTR Nation. With low sugar, low carb, high protein, high fiber, and low sodium, BTR Nation snacks are perfect for keeping you fueled and feeling fantastic throughout the day. Whether you're tackling your to-do list or you're enjoying a rare moment of peace, these snacks have you covered. Plus, for a limited time, you can use code MOMBATCH to get 20% off and free shipping. So do not wait. Visit BTRNation.com. They even have a snack quiz so you can help discover your favorite healthy treats.
Paulette, welcome to the Mom Bitch Podcast. We are so intrigued and excited and honored for you to join today. And for those that do not know Paulette, you are going to, because she is our divorce BFF, okay? And things just can't always be pretty. Like sometimes we have life challenges, and you know, I think a great thing is how do we learn how to do these type of hard, changes with grace, especially in a male-dominated world. So I just want to kick it over to you. Tell me a little bit more about Paulette.
Well, thank you. What a gracious introduction, ladies. I'm not often introduced as a divorce BFF, but that's what I am. Some have called me a divorce concierge.
Okay.
I have my PhD in divorce. I'm a cheerleader, quarterback, guide, GPS, blueprint. I don't know how many more little analogies you want me to throw in there, but I've been there, done that. But you must know, everyone listening, I'm not pro-divorce. I did not ever wake up at the ripe old age of whatever and say, I'm going to be a divorce expert.
Mm-hmm.
No, who does that? I mean,
nobody.
I don't know that any of us say we're going to be an expert at anything. But what is it that gives us knowledge, but experience, right? So I met my first husband at the ripe old age of 17. In fact, I had just turned 17. So think back to that. Who knows anything? I didn't know my elbow from my you-know-what. And got married at 22, turning 23. And I thought that was plenty of time. Just graduated from college. And, naturally it was on my list of things to do. Be a good girl, get good grades, go to ballet, date, fall in love. Oh, I forgot about go to college and graduate and get a good job. And those are like the things on my list of things to do. And of course, get married and have children. So I had my nice long pad of paper and I was taking all the little checks. And before I knew it, I realized, oh my, what did I do? Not that everything was crazy or bad. I think anything in life, particularly relationships, have their good and their not so good and their uncomfortableness. And we're young, we're learning. But I didn't feel that it didn't take me too long to realize that when I got married, I didn't marry a man, I married a family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's okay, ladies. Part of getting married is not only taking your spouse, but also the whole entourage.
Yeah.
Some of them have bigger steamer trunks of entourages than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Some of them might just have brothers and sisters or parents, grandparents, the normal, but then there might be aunts and uncles and cousins and lots of them. I came from a family where I had two sisters that were much older than I am. And they were more like aunts to me, more than sisters because of the age difference. I kind of in many ways thought of them as babysitters, and no disrespect to them. But, when you're two and your sisters are in high school or middle, junior high, as we used to say back in the day, you didn't really have that kind of relationship. So my parents were, I was sort of it was me, mommy, and daddy. My mother was an only child, and my father only had one brother. So I had 4 cousins. So holidays were civil, quiet.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a small family. But then I got married into this big family. Eyes wide open. And I was like, OMG.
Yeah.
So anyway, they were, I learned a lot. It was wonderful. I made, it was a very good memories of the family. But when after 21 years of marriage, I realized, this is not a healthy relationship for many reasons. And I don't think we have time to get into that today, although maybe we do another time. I realized that, okay, if I'm going to leave this marriage, I'm not divorcing a man, I'm divorcing a family.
Yes.
And because of that, I was the first person to ever really request a divorce from the men in the family. Ironically, his 2 sisters had already gotten divorced. So I thought, this won't be too bad. But it was. I personally endured an 8.5-year fully litigated divorce case that included a 12-day trial. The 12-day trial took place over 9 months.
Yeah.
I know. No, you'd think if it were a 12-day trial, and by the way, they don't tell you it's going to be 12 days. But if you did know, you'd think it would be Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, right? No. Doesn't work that way. It was 9 months, September to June to be exact. And there were 2 years of preparation to even get to that point.
Oh my gosh.
Which is known as discovery and interrogatories. But then in my case, it went even deeper with a gatekeeper or special master, confidentiality agreements. You name it. There were private investigators, and it was all kind of convoluted and crazy. And that took about 3 years. And then after the judge's decision, of course, after the trial, he took 9 months to make his decision. I could have given birth to another baby in that amount of time. No kidding. 9 months. How ironic, right? That it was 9 months. Yeah. And then once the judge's decision came down, which was February, it's 90 days to become active, depending on the state you live in. Every state is different, sometimes 30, sometimes 60, sometimes 90. Who's counting at that point? My ex and his family did not like the judge's decision. So they appealed it on 17 counts. And it took an additional 4 years in state Supreme Appellate Court, not Supreme Court like in DC. When I say Supreme Court, it scares people. But every state has its own appellate court and Supreme Appellate Court. So that's why I spent about a decade-ish in court in a litigated situation. And because of that, I learned everything, literally. That was a quote from my attorney about the divorce process. Now, there are 5 methods of divorce and only 4 things the courts care about. I have it down to a science. And that is one of the reasons, after thousands of people have reached out to me over this period of time, where the conversation would start with, I read about your case. I heard about your case. Why is this taking so long? He seems like a great guy. Are you okay? What's going on? Curiosity, right? Good news travels fast, but as you know, bad news travels faster.
Oh, yeah.
So the conversation would usually end with, can you help me?
Yeah.
And I would say no at first because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. How could I possibly help someone else if I'm drowning in my own everything. But eventually I said, sure, come on over. What have I got to lose? Made a good amount of coffee, poured a good amount of wine, and listened to hundreds of stories, took copious notes, not only in court when I was in court, but also just curious, like, what are the things that people are doing wrong? Or what are the mistakes that people are making? And it ended up becoming a #1 best-selling book called Better Divorce Blueprint. It's a 307-page book, 197-page workbook, an audiobook for those that would prefer to listen to it in the car in their own little private Idaho, so no one really knows what you're listening to. And now a course so that I can help people all over the world, not legally because the laws are different in each state, each country, but there's so many parallels and so many similarities of the mistakes that we make. And that's where I branded the work as Better Divorce. I used to just do it under my name, but once it became a movement, a purpose, a calling, a longing to help others avoid court so they can save a ton of money in unnecessary legal fees, avoid the litigious litigated process, and divorce in an average of less than 90 days without ever stepping foot in a courtroom. Now, again, I'm not pro-divorce. I'm actually very happily remarried. And I do not run around handing out my business card to people saying, you look miserable. You look miserable.
It might be a good business model, though.
Yeah.
But there have been a few times when I've been out with my husband and he's leaned over and whispered in my ear, they need your help.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I'm either acting as a credentialed private family law mediator, an alternative dispute resolution expert in mediation, and or a certified divorce coach and specializing in high conflict litigated cases. I'm also the director of coaching and case management for a company called Divorce Right, where I work with company employees and match them to one of our divorce coaches. And we have a department, a wing, a branch, shall we say, in divorce sensitivity training for HR departments. So that's why I have my PhD in divorce.
Yeah, you like do it all.
I mean, yeah, and as negative as the whole subject is, right? Because nobody goes into a marriage expecting divorce.
No.
What's empowering is you've created a better path forward for people through your experience. I'm going to ask a basic question. Do you have like a few top reasons why women search for divorce based on all of the women you've worked with that you can share?
Yeah. It starts with a yearning, either some sort of trigger or an event. Doesn't have to be monumentous. Don't get nervous. It isn't like, it can be, don't get me wrong. It could be a monumental event, but it could just be a little calling, a yearning, a longing in your soul that's saying something isn't right.
Yeah.
I say it's like wearing someone else's shoes that don't fit. Or even worse, ladies, using someone else's toothbrush.
Ooh.
Oh.
You know, it's that icky feeling. I know, you're friends, right? I mean, I've had those times traveling where maybe I've forgotten my toothbrush.
Sure.
I mean, we're all human, and I've probably asked permission from my husband.
Yeah.
And he's like, So you see that look on your face, right? But it's not an external ick. It's an internal ick where you feel you're not clear on your why. Why is it that my marriage, my relationship, and it doesn't even have to be marriage. What many mothers don't understand is when you have a child together, you're now entering into a legal binding contract.
Yay.
Because you have to co-parent whether you're married or not. And at some point, what is the cohabitation thing? Is it a week, a month, a year? If you're living together or not, if for some reason the relationship doesn't work out, you still have to raise that child together, whether you're co-parenting, parallel parenting, or God, I forbid I say counter parenting. That's another conversation we can have. But there's that initial feeling of what's wrong. Now, there are 21 top reasons couples divorce. And the more you have, the harder it is to stay in a healthy marriage. If you're the one that's feeling that getting clear on your why and that confusion of why do I feel like I'm wearing someone else's shoes that don't fit? They're uncomfortable. Why are you uncomfortable? Why are you feeling like you just brushed your teeth with someone else's toothbrush? The ick factor, right? If you can get really clear in your mind and your soul and your heart about the why, you are going to have an easier time understanding, can this marriage be fixed, dare I say, saved? Is it manageable? Or is it time to really pull in the big guns with mental health practitioners, marriage or relationship coaches or counseling? And whatever the acronym is after someone's name, it doesn't really matter how many fancy letters are after their name. You need to feel, like a strong bond
like
with
safe.
that therapist, that counselor, that coach, because you're now emotionally vomiting not only everything that's in your brain on them, you need to totally trust them. And I don't suggest giving all of that experience and confusion to someone you don't trust.
Right.
Many times a relationship will go off the rails because a partner has read the journal, or you told the wrong person that you thought you could really put your life in their hands. So it's important that you find someone, if you are still living in your own little 2 years is the average amount of time women contemplate this before they tell anyone. So what do they do? Back in the day, they spent a lot of time in a bookstore in the self-help department or self-help, aisle, right? But now that we have these things called social media and Google for the last 15, 20 years, of course, everyone just spends hours at 2 a.m. Googling, what do I do when I feel whatever?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And sometimes you can't always believe everything that you find on the internet.
A lot of times.
Yeah. So to answer your question, it's an internal voice of something's wrong. And you're trying to litmus test it, trying to dissect or discern or reason in a very logical manner of something that is highly emotional. And that's hard to do, is to determine or to see it as railroad tracks. They're congruent and they're parallel and they go together, but they don't intersect or cross. And on one side of the railroad tracks, you can see that in your head, right? Railroad tracks.
Yep.
Is the psychological, mental, emotional, physical, sexual, spiritual side of love and marriage and romance and parenting and all the, shall we say, beautiful love letter part of it. It's all the warm and fuzzy teddy bear part of it. And on the other side of the railroad tracks is a spreadsheet. It's just the judicial, legal, financial, residential, lending, insurance, and taxes side of marriage and romance and courtship and all that. And unfortunately, in many cases, divorce. Statistically speaking, about half of first marriages end in divorce, ladies. That's just a fact. That doesn't mean Paulette's running around going, yay. If anything, I'm not. Right. But that's a fact.
Yeah.
And it gets worse with second and third marriages.
Oh.
I know it's about 60% on second and 73% of third marriages. So we don't get it right. We keep screwing up.
It gets worse.
Is that based on age as well? Or is that just based on I read once that if you're over the age of 30 when you get married, the chances of divorce go down over 40, so on and so forth? Or is that a myth?
That is very, very correct. So Not to say that I advocate everyone get married at 65, but naturally, the older you are, the less likely you're going to get divorced. Now, there is a counter argument to that is what's called gray divorce. So gray divorce is a divorce that is happening after the age of 50, and silver is over the age of 62 when Social Security kicks in. But traditionally speaking, if you get married, at 19, we'll pick on the young set, 18, 19, 20, which is really young now. Back in the day, everybody got married.
Right.
As soon as, you got your period and you were out of the house, you could have kids, you got married, right? I know I'm talking about the Vikings and all that, going back to the 1300s, everybody. But biologically speaking, if you were old enough to have children, you could get married. We don't roll that way anymore. But what do we get? You graduate high school. Maybe you go to higher education. You graduate, you're 21, you get a job or several, and you fall in love and get married at, 25, 28, whatever it is. Now, chances are, because you're younger, 50% of divorce happens between the 4th and the 8th year of marriage.
Oh, it's interesting.
Right? So why? Because you're not prepared. And you think that marriage is a romantic notion based on a white dress and a tuxedo and a cake
and Disney.
And this thing called a wedding and a honeymoon. And it's not. I mean, that's all lovely. Don't get me wrong. We all love it. Who doesn't love a wedding? Although they're very expensive.
So expensive. I
don't
even want to get into it.
Elope if you can. Anyway, I'm just being silly. So now, if you wait until after a certain point, you have a firm stance in knowing who you are. You have an inner knowingness of what makes you tick, what you love, right? What makes you feel purposeful, why you're here, why you're taking up space. There's an inner independent conviction of knowing who you are.
Yeah, you have your compass.
Yeah, your happiness isn't dependent on another person. Now, another person could grow that, blossom it, complement it, and make it more enjoyable, right? But it isn't necessarily the only thing that makes you who you are. Now, if you are getting married to solve a problem or to recreate a childhood dynamic that was perhaps missing, right? You're longing to recreate a childhood that maybe you didn't have. So many women feel like if I find the perfect spouse or partner and I fall in love and get married and I perhaps didn't have the greatest role model in motherhood or fatherhood or parenthood, or, we're not blaming our childhood, but there's a little bit of romantic notion that we can correct that we can make it, normalize it. We can undo that pattern. And there's a little bit of truth to that, sure. But it takes a lot of knowledge and education and maturity and experience and confidence and a congruent marriage that both partners are on board with that, with values and goals and having a congruent life goal, right? Mindset, right? If one person wants to live a traditional life with living in the white picket fence house with the 2.2 kids and, the traditional stay-at-home parent model, and maybe you haven't even discussed that. And I'm being very stereotypical. And, maybe you want 5 kids, who knows? And the other person doesn't really want that, but they just kind of go along with it because, well, that's what we're supposed to do. Then now you're setting yourself up for a very different trajectory. So it's different. So I know it's a very loaded question, but it's an important one to examine from a point of why things feel uncomfortable. And are you and your spouse or your date or your fiance or your new spouse willing to have those difficult conversations before you put the ring on the finger and you march down the aisle or the beach or wherever you get married, everyone's different. Are you willing in your own conviction to have those difficult conversations? And if you're both not, chances are you're going to need me than not.
Yeah. It's good
Right.
to know that, some people might be listening thinking like, I didn't have any of those conversations, but now I know I need to. I have another question. So you said previously that it takes women 2 years before they're able to speak about the thought of potentially getting a divorce. What are the statistics around the percentage of women versus men that actually initiate the divorce?
Great question. So on my website, betterdivorceacademy.com, I have a banner at the top that has the recent statistics, and they change, so don't hold me to it. And to answer your question, yes, divorce is dependent. Those statistics are based on age. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're 30 or 60, demographics,
Mm-hmm.
proximity, where you live, how many children you have, income, education, blah, 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 blah. Demographics have a lot to do with the percentage of which a person is more susceptible to being a
That makes
statistic
sense.
of that. So I can't put that on the front page of the website, but it's just an overall, and it isn't to scare people. It's to educate you.
Yep.
I want everyone to know, male, female, young, old, tall, short, polka dot, doesn't matter, that divorce is a fact of life. And if you can do everything in your power to prevent it, you should, right? Because it's expensive and it's long and it's difficult. With that aside, of the couples that get married, and there's a lot, the wedding industry, I think, is almost as big as the divorce industry. Now, I don't have the statistics on the wedding industry. We could probably Google it now, but the divorce industry is a $50 billion industry.
Jeez.
With the B, billion, $50 billion.
Is that globally or in the US?
That is annually in the US.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a documentary that everybody should watch. It's called Divorce Corp, CORP, like corporation.
Okay.
It's a 45-minute documentary. Now, watching it doesn't make you more likely to get divorced. In fact, it makes you less likely to get divorced.
Oh.
So education is king, right? Now, back to the men and women thing. About 72% of divorce is either initiated or filed by women.
Oh, wow.
30%-ish is initiated or filed by men. And 2 years is the average amount of time, average ladies, mamas, average amount of time that women contemplate that very difficult, painful, overwhelming, fearful thought for 2 years before they tell anyone, whether that be a mother, a sister, an aunt, a neighbor, your hairdresser, anybody,
Right.
Yeah.
It's always, what is that saying? Either the bartender or the hairdresser knows,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what are those weak moments where you're like, oh my God, when they say, how are you? And you go, fine.
Yeah.
And you're just BSing it, and you've got
Right.
mascara running down your face, or you are brave and you go, everything's great.
Yeah. I'm here for a chap. I think I'm going to do a bop.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because how many times have somebody said to you, how are you? And you just go, fine, when you're really not, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. We can't just all fall on the floor like a blob,
Right.
like an amoeba, a one-celled organism where we're just like, so that initial feeling of fear. Again, I mentioned those top 21 reasons couples divorce, and I'm happy to quickly run through them if you want. But because divorce is initiated, the thought of something's wrong, women typically research it more. Men tend to be, everything's fine, I'll fix it, I'm going to run in and save the day. And they tend to be less emotionally connected. And this isn't a condescending comment that men tend to be more or less emotionally intelligent. It's not a moment of criticism of their intelligence, but they tend to be less connected to their emotions.
Yeah.
Right. So women, being mothers, are more sensitive, or shall we say connected to emotions. right? Whether those be positive emotions or negative emotions or even neutral ones. And by the way, emotions change. We're not always happy.
Right.
We're not always sad. They change and fluctuate in the norm, just like day and night, right and left, up and down, male and female. Like they're opposites. It's, we get that. But when you are more connected and aware of those emotions, then you tend to be the person that has that internal dialogue, research, writing, journaling, therapy, reading books, researching, listening to podcasts, finding experts like myself to say, I love him. I adore the family, but I'm so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What do I do? What can I do to fix it? Right.
Right.
So those initial conversations that you have when they're with yourself feel less scary because no one knows about it.
Right. There's like no accountability partner.
Yeah.
Like, right.
You're paranoid. Like, did somebody, I don't know if you've ever had a thought and you stop yourself to say, did I just think that or did I say it?
Right.
Every day.
Yeah, you're like, well, I'm glad you guys are normal. Welcome to the human race. So when you have a thought and it's how many times do we say, okay, this could be, I hope nobody's offended, but you look at a very attractive human being and you're like, very, he's sexy or she's pretty, and you're like, oh, I'd love to have sex with that person, just because you're thinking it in your own little world doesn't mean you're going to run out and do it. Right? Or, how many times, I know that's a weird example, but it's true, you're like,
yeah, I'm not saying, hey, James, hall pass to the right, 12 o'clock.
or somebody, it could be, it doesn't really matter what the thought is.
Right.
But because you think
private.
It's private. Exactly. But then maybe you think it again and again and again, and you start to think, like, is anybody else
need to talk about this?
Thinking?
Yeah.
Whether it's a movie or you're right, or it could
work.
just be like, I don't know, like
he's really annoying.
Yeah, somebody's really
that one
annoying.
I think a lot at work.
Yeah, like a coworker, just whether they have body odor, or they have bad breath, or they're just really annoying people.
Yes,
and
they
you're
won't be
thinking
quiet.
to yourself,
Yes,
please tell them to stop. Tell them to stop.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, you're having this thought, and you look around thinking, am I the only one that's having this thought? Right, so let's go to marriage now. But so that's just an internal thought. But when you're thinking those thoughts about your spouse,
yeah.
It's one thing to talk about a Hollywood movie star. It's one thing to talk about somebody on the sidewalk, or to think about it. It's one thing to think about a song on the radio. How many times have we heard a song on the radio, or that you go, I hate this song. Why does everybody like this song? Well, I'm going to pretend I like it because everybody else likes it, and you have to like Taylor Swift. If you don't, you're just a bad person, right? Or there's something weird about you.
Basically.
So I didn't mean to pick on poor Taylor Swift, but there's pop culture. So we all have to pretend we love everything because like you have to. But when it's your spouse or or our child or something, you're suddenly now nervous.
Yeah.
So if you feel like there's something about the marriage, whether it be infidelity, money, lack of communication, I'm going through the list now, arguing, bickering, unrealistic expectations, lack of intimacy, lack of equality, not being prepared. That's the 40 to 50% of divorces that happen in the 4th to 8th year. Abuse, addiction, different parenting styles, didn't marry for love, lack of disclosure, lack of sincerity, lack of identity or self-esteem, irreconcilable differences. That's kind of like the cat and dog thing.
Yeah.
Long distance relationships, moving. I want to live in a warm climate. I want to live in a hot climate. I want to live in a cold climate. I love skiing. I hate skiing. Parenting styles, the permissive Disney parent versus the eat your carrots and do your homework parent. Didn't marry for love, lack of disclosure, long distance. I think I said that one. Oh, interference from parents and family. That's a tough one. Control issues. And then the real kicker, your spouse is gay.
Yeah.
That's on the list?
One. Yeah, it's one of the reasons
that common?
Divorce. It is one of the 20 reasons for divorce. So, some people stay married and think they can go to therapy. And I hate to use the word fix that, but it is hard to stay married to somebody if they're not attracted to you.
You're not attracted. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So whatever the reason is, it could just be, climate. Let's say you love the sunshine and the beach and you want to live in Florida, and your spouse loves Montana and skiing and the cold weather and the mountains. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Could be a problem. Now, if you can work it out, it's not the reason to run to the divorce lawyer. But if it prolongs for years and years and years and years, and the other person doesn't acknowledge or recognize that, then it could be a problem.
This episode of the Mom Betch podcast is brought to you by BTRNation.com. Oh, hey there, Supermom. Are you looking for a snack that will fit your healthy lifestyle and allow you to keep up with your busy days? Well, say hello to BTR Nation. BTR Nation snacks are low sugar, low carb, high protein, high fiber, and low sodium. So it's literally everything that we need to stay energized and feel great. From protein packed bars to guilt-free truffle cups, these snacks are designed to support your active lifestyle and satisfy your cravings, which is why they are my favorite. But the best part is we get to use code MOMBETCH for 20% off and free shipping. So if you're ready to upgrade your snack game, visit BTRNation.com, grab your favorite snacks, and fuel your mom's superpowers.
If you are listening and you are in 2 different climates, and if you are particularly a woman stuck in the climate that you do not want to be in, do not have a baby, because then you're really stuck. I just had to get that off my chest.
That's a really good point, because
that is a great point.
You have to co-parent, married or not, with somebody that loves to ski.
Yeah.
Or I'm picking on skiing, snowboard, or jump out of helicopters and do avalanche training and whatever, ice fishing. If they love wearing turtlenecks and parkas and you'd rather hang out in your bikini, we're going to have a problem. And I don't mean just on vacation, but you now have to stay until they're 18.
All right, Miss Paulette, I have a question. So let's say you've been contemplating divorce. The average you said was 2 years. So 2 years you've been going back and forth. When do we contact you?
Yesterday. Yeah. The sooner the better. Okay. Do not fear Paulette is here, but that doesn't mean that working with me means you're going to divorce.
Okay.
There's a lot of work we need to do to walk through the first 3 chapters of my book. Okay. We have to, and I'm scrolling back to the index, very important, chapters 1, 2, and 3 are before. The contemplating, thinking, researching, knowledge part is vital to your being able to make smart, wise decisions. If you jump into the ocean unprepared, you're going to drown.
Yeah.
You need to have somebody that's taught you how to swim, right? Otherwise, I'm going to have to throw you a life preserver and drag you out gagging.
Yeah.
The thought process, getting clear on your why, is very important. We touched on that a little bit. Why is it uncomfortable? Your thought process, feeling your feelings, deciding what you want, understanding your core values and goals, taking ownership and responsibility for the part that you may have played in the demise of your relationship. Not any one person is solely responsible for that. It takes 2 to tango. Yeah. Both parties hold some responsibility. It may not be 50-50, but taking ownership of the part that you played is key. Deal breakers, understanding all of them, and there are 31. How to prepare and protect yourself. Finding that hero inside yourself, strength, resiliency, integrity, authenticity, really understanding that initial foundation. How to tell the children, what to tell the children, what not to tell the children, when to tell the children, when not to tell the children, how much to tell the children. All of those things are so key. And you haven't told them. You're just learning those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Learning, right? How to decide what's right for you, your family, and your spouse. The courts don't really care They don't have time for that. They're not bad people, but it isn't a hand-holding process. It's here's the law. Who's the plaintiff? Who's the defendant? All right, give me the evidence and let's make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ways and methods of ending a divorce, there are 5: DIY, 3 forms of mediation, collaboration, arbitration, and good old-fashioned litigation. And 97% of cases that litigate do not go to trial like I did. 3% do, and only 1% of that 3% that do go to trial go to the appeals court. So you can see why my experience was so rare.
Yes.
Yeah.
How to mitigate outside influences. That could be your conscience, your mind, your sister, your neighbor, your boss, your mother, anybody, because everybody has their own agenda. They all come to it with, oh no, you can't get divorced. Or what took you so long? You know, I'm not
Yeah.
joking. Yeah, I've heard that, it's like, I always say, so what did your so-and-so say? Oh, they said, well, I've been waiting for you to tell me this for the longest amount of time, right? Practicing mindfulness. Ignorance is not bliss. You've got to gather your evidence. You have to understand the financial aspect of it. What's premarital, what's non-marital, and what's marital. Creating a budget, understanding the lawyer speak, because there is a lawyer speak to this. How to choose your advocates. That might be your neighbor. It might be anybody to really act as an advocate for you, depending on how contentious your case may be. And journaling, planning, and having a calendar. Managing stress very well.
Yeah.
Communicating with family and friends, caring for yourself, nurturing your soul, and being able to realize that trusting your spouse to do the right thing is the number one mistake women make.
Mm.
Yeah.
Going back to women being so emotional, it's like when you get to that point where you're like, I think I am going to file. Do you suggest people like read your book and then start the workbook before they contact you? Like, what's the best method? Because I feel like most people are like, I have no idea what to do. My second question is for women that don't do the budget, don't control the finances, don't have all of that. Like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah. So those are 2 very important questions, and make sure I answer both. So for the first ideal roadmap, the blueprint, in a perfect world, you would reach out to me first. You would purchase my book and workbook and go ahead and read it. And as you're reading it, whether it's chapter by chapter, lesson by lesson, I would be there with you as a sounding board, as a thinking partner, as an accountability BFF, as you said, right?
Yep.
Not to make your decisions for you, but to educate you about your specific situation. Again, the book is a blueprint for everyone that ask a lot of questions. Every time I ask a question in the book, there's a place in the workbook to answer the question. So you have an accountability partner,
Resource.
right? A thinking partner to not only let you have that sacred space and container, that safe place that you may not have. Again, trusting your spouse and other people as a confidant could be an issue. Many times people will say, your wife just called me and told me she wants a divorce.
Yeah, you can't trust anyone.
Mm-mm.
Could you imagine? You've not only lost a friend, which you probably are better off. That is a big problem. So,
Yeah.
and now you don't even trust yourself to trust anyone else because the lack of trust is shot to heck, right? So having that person to help you, again, not make your decisions for you, but to hold your hand and do that.
Right.
That may be a call once a month. It could be every day. It really depends on how contentious, how complicated it is. If there is addiction and abuse issues, you might need a lot more support than if it's really just, I just don't like the guy.
Sure.
Yep.
And no judgment, right? So if that isn't the case and you just found out about me and you're already 2 years divorced and you're having a hard time, because chapters 1, 2, and 3 are before, 4, 5, and 6 are during, and 7 and 8 are after. There's still so many things to do after a divorce. Number 1, to financially be stable.
Yeah.
Number 2, to co-parent with grace and wisdom and dignity. And number 3, to never need me again.
Love that.
I'm the only professional in the planet that does not want a repeat client.
Oh,
Right.
I'm not a hairdresser. I don't want to see you once a month. Nothing personal, right? I mean, unless we're doing it together, There are some clients I do see once a month or every day because they're going through litigated cases.
Wow.
And there's FaceTime, Zoom. We live in a digital world. So ideally, if you're in the early stages, the more benefit. If you're in the middle and you're already litigating or mediating, no problem. We're going to try to pick up the pieces, work with what's been done, and work forward to get you out so you can save money. Try to keep your legal fees as low as possible. And there's many methods to how I do that. And allow you to not say the wrong thing, because everything you say and do will be used against you.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're reverse engineering this to say, what would the judge say? Right? And if you're already done, are you going to change your name? How do you date wisely in the digital age?
Wow.
How do you financially create a new life for yourself so that you're not living under a bridge? I know that's pretty dramatic to say that. It's a fear. You won't be, but feeling stable and secure. That's so important that you have a plan. Yeah. Now, the second question, you're going to put on your FBI, CIA agent hat. There's many things I do to help my clients get in the know as fast as they can. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to, break into the login and password on your spouse's laptop.
Like the movies.
That sounds fun.
But there are things that you can do strategically, wisely, and privately before you have to hire a forensic accountant. Now, I'm going into lawyer speak, so I don't want to overwhelm anyone. If you have not shared any of your fear and anxiety and you've not dropped, I want a divorce, don't use the D word or the N word, divorce or narcissist. So I have to be careful what those words are. So you never want to say, I want a divorce or you're a narcissist. Don't do that. Don't do that. You can tell me that you want a divorce. You can tell me that you think your spouse is a selfish, evil, manipulative, game-playing jerk. That's fine. You can call him any name or her any name in the book. Doesn't matter. I'm safe. Yep. Your spouse is not. As soon as they think you want a divorce, they will do two things. Well, general categories. They will dissipate marital funds. They'll go buy a Ferrari. I'm joking about the Ferrari.
Really?
They just spend money because they can.
They don't want to give it to you?
Yeah.
They're going to dissipate marital funds. That's a legal term. Or they're going to hide it or try to. They buy crypto or they go to the bank and they take out 10 grand and they give it to their brother and say, hide it for me. So they do things to try to hide assets. And how do they do that? They buy things that only they have access to, or they hide it by the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, or family, right? Now, there's 3 categories of funds, and I did mention premarital, non-marital, and marital. Marital funds in general are everything that the couple has created from the wedding to now, today. Right? If it was premarital, it may not be yours, right? Just like it may not be theirs. Right. And inheritance too. So again, I'm not giving you legal advice, but there's many different ways of looking at assets. And those are things you need to work on. And I ask the right questions. What what is it that you have? And we fill out what's known as a domestic relations financial affidavit together. And when
That's
you
smart.
say, I don't know, 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 that's a red flag. So what we do during that period of research and, is to slowly start to go into the office, into the file cabinet and look at the mail, maybe go down to the bank and, act like, I'm going to say, a dumb blonde and say,
What's
hi.
yours is mine, baby.
Yeah, and
What's
say,
yours is mine.
I seem to have lost my debit card or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and get to know somebody that works at the bank and see if you can find out what accounts that you do in fact have. Because if you have them and you don't have access to them, that could be a problem. Now, if you're litigating, it is required of both parties to complete a domestic relations financial affidavit, which is called a DERFA in all 50 states. So sometimes it's called a marital balance sheet or an MBS, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's a spreadsheet of everything you own: cash, checking, savings, real estate, cars, coffee makers, clothing, jewelry, investments, 401k,
Wow.
pensions, stock, bonds, money market, certificate of deposits, crypto. I could keep going for hours on what the categories are. And it's before you decide who gets what, you got to figure out what you have. And your job is to be a little bit of an FBI agent, right? To kind of investigate. You'd be curious to find out what you see in the trash and the junk mail. If you're getting a lot of junk mail from Bank of America, you probably have a Bank of America account.
What if you're separated during this time and like you're not living in the same household?
That is a problem. So then you have to file a motion for the court to ask the other side to present or not, this is an illegal term, cough up all those documents that they don't want to share. Yeah.
Got it.
And that's when it starts to get expensive.
I have a question. Let's say I'm a stay-at-home mom, I don't have access to money and I want your help. Is there a way to get that paid for in the divorce?
Yes. It's a little tricky. It depends again how contentious it is. There are 7 forms of abuse: mental, emotional, psychological. Those are the 3 that are very difficult to document, and we have to do a historical timeline. I do that with clients from the day they meet. So we have to show for the court that you haven't had access to money throughout the course of your marriage. You can't just walk in and go, I don't have any money and he controls it all. I mean, you can say that, but it's not going to hold your water.
Right.
So we have to prove that you really have been financially abused, right? Which is a part of abuse. So physical and sexual are the 2 that get all the press: broken bones, black eyes, scratches, as they should. Those are a lot easier to document, right? Mm-hmm. Although a lot of women hide it.
Yeah.
Glasses, makeup, I'm fine. Bruises. Oh, I fell. I walked into the wall. Broken dishes, slammed doors, punching holes in the wall. It doesn't mean to be you. It can still be a violent, aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
Financial control, as I mentioned, if you don't have any way to pay bills, put gas in the car, buy groceries and clothes for the children, and you don't have access or knowledge about your marital assets, that is considered financial abuse, and it's considered intimate partner domestic violence and abuse.
Interesting.
Not violence, but abuse. And lastly, spiritual abuse. That is when you feel like your spirit's been broken. So if you feel those controlling attributes, there are many ways that you can now ask the court to pay your legal fees. But I am an independent person and I'm a mediator. So depending on your state, mediation can be reimbursed during the process. But typically, this is work we do way early, or you are asking the court to modify or to present or award what are known as temporary orders. So in those cases, many women have to get part-time jobs, not just to pay me, but to get through the divorce
Yeah,
period, because whether you work with me or not, divorce isn't free. So that is, most women do get part-time jobs. And that's why many women become entrepreneurs, interestingly enough, or they go back to school to get a job. But many times family will help too, whether that be, family is aware of the problem. There are many ways to raise funds. And I also try to make it very affordable. So you're not plopping down a very big fee. It's case by case. And there are many times if there's a lot of financial control and the woman doesn't have any access to funds, a credit card, a checking account, or any access to funds, that I will absolutely do what I can to help them financially. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So as we wrap, it seems like obviously the big takeaway here is there's a lot of long-term potential complications and implications if you don't have your shit together.
To put it bluntly, yes.
Yeah.
True. Yes, my dear.
You have to be the owner of your household. But side of that, the most beautiful thing about you and your organization is how you are empowering women to get through this difficult time. Can you share a success story that's really resonated with you?
Oh, so many. Which one? So, she is married with 3 children, intimate partner violence, domestic violence, call
Oh
it what you
no.
will. It's been
Yeah.
relabeled, and terrified,
Yeah.
absolutely terrified. A very controlling religious dogma person. Divorce was not an option. It was seen as a sin, which also can be a difficult stigma, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of education. She went to an attorney. When she found me, she had an attorney that was helpful, but not as helpful as she needed. Long story, got her divorced, got primary custody of the children, not sole custody.
Mm-hmm.
And with encouragement and a lot of soul searching that we did, gave her a purpose in life. She applied for medical school.
Oh,
She
wow.
went to Emory University here in Atlanta and
Mm-hmm.
became a registered nurse. She now is a nurse practitioner in a private
Okay.
practice, but she was an ER nurse for a domestic violence ward in the
Oh.
hospital, helping
Wow.
women come in. And because of her
Wow.
personal experience, empathy, and medical training, she was able to help hundreds of women
Oh,
That's
I bet.
amazing.
through their journey, and also to share enough about her personal journey that she empowered them to get out of abusive marriages with wisdom and grace and dignity in an
Mm-hmm.
affordable manner. Now, full circle, she just won sole custody of all 3 children.
Oh,
And she's in
amazing.
a wonderful career. She is articulate and beautiful and intelligent and a survivor. And she is just a wonderful example of reaching out, getting the
Yep.
professional help that she needed, getting the right
Yeah.
attorney, the right expert, and the right support that she needed to feel empowered and knowledgeable and strong enough to be able to do that for not only herself but her 3 children.
Oh my gosh. I got like the chills thinking about that. I mean that's the key here, right? Is, not just getting help yourself and seeking the help, but then sharing it with others. I mean, everything that you do is amazing.
To be able to take something painful,
Yeah.
and I believe in marriage, everyone. I'm happily married. I love marriage. When marriage works and when the relationship is healthy, you can create the most beautiful life, not only for yourself, but your family and your children,
Yeah.
and being a shining example of what being in a healthy marriage looks like, right?
Yep.
I said, if I teach you nothing, and this was 4 years ago, I am instructing you, whatever happens with the divorce, it is your responsibility to teach your sons that this is not the way they treat their girlfriends and wives in the future.
Yep.
And you are teaching your daughter that this is not an acceptable way for a man in her life, to treat her. And it was a very difficult conversation, but one in which she took wholeheartedly. It is not only something you do for yourself, but an example that you exude about how you step up to the plate, speak your truth, stand tall in your convictions, and ask the court to award you what is rightfully, legally yours. Right? Yeah. But it's not easy. And they'll do whatever they can to insult you and gaslight you. We don't want to get into all the terminology of the but just make you feel crazy. Make you feel like you're a crazy, crazy person. And knowing that you're not, because you've spoken to somebody else who has gotten through that, is the legacy that she is leaving for her children.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely incredible, Paulette. Can we come there and just like have a wine night with you? Yeah. Because I feel like it would be so much fun just to hang out with you. Your energy is infectious.
Absolutely.
For all of our listeners, betterdivorceacademy.com, we will have links to all of her resources, her book, everything.
And a PDF that I can also share too. It's called The 12 Worst Divorce Mistakes Women Make. Actually, I think I renamed it because the 12 common divorce mistakes to avoid and what to do instead.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that.
Be positive. Get the right help you need. I don't say all these difficult things to scare you. I say all these things to empower you and inspire you for yourself and your family and your children. If your marriage feels uncomfortable, if it feels like you're wearing shoes that don't fit and they're painful, you know the kind I mean, like stiletto heels that you've been wearing for 12 hours, that like your toes feel like they're like going to fall off, that kind of like, ugh. But you keep putting them on every day. That kind of pain, you know what I'm saying? Then it is your responsibility to take the shoes off and start doing this work privately, with dignity, and in a sacred container, because it will haunt you if you act without doing this work. And regret is a terrible thing. You don't want to look back and say, oh, if I'd only gotten the help I needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we are sharing that help because I feel like most people have no idea where to even start, and you are brilliant. So thank you so much for joining. We're going to have you back.
Oh, yeah.
This was such a great episode. We appreciate your time. Make sure you go to betterdivorceacademy.com.
And the book is Better Divorce Blueprint.
That also is the name of the workbook too.
Correct. And it's available on Amazon. Easy.
Easy.
Yeah, easy peasy.
And originally when it came out, it started to get a lot of bad reviews from my ex-husband's family.
Oh, we're familiar with that.
So, fine. I'm okay with it. I love them all. And it's all good. But
haters make you more legit.
You when you put yourself out there, you have to be willing to take a little bit of criticism, right? So
we
know a little bit all the time.
And that's okay. When you put yourself out there for the world to help mankind and those that so desperately need you, there's always going to be a few people that criticize you.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Okay.
All right.
If you are loving the Mom Betch podcast, we really want your help to like, subscribe, and rate wherever you listen to your podcast so that we can get more Mom Betches to find us. But I have to give a shout out here for a second. Did you notice the quality of this podcast audio? That's because we have a podcast editor. Miraculously enhance your audio, get custom edits based on your preference, and let your podcast editor make the episode sound so much better with her audio content optimization. If you have a podcast or want one, talk to Taya, our podcast editor. She can help you strategize, edit, make social content, and keep you on track to make sure you have the very best show. AI can only do so much, so treat yourself and set up a free meeting with Taya to see how she can help you with your podcast. Go to tayachura.com/podcast. That's TEACHURA.com/podcast.
Women need to empower women, and our voice matters.